to the World Ethics Meeting.
Hi, I'm Bob Smith, the host of this meeting. Today we'll be going to have a one-on-one interview with each ethic. Then we'll come together, discuss about this year's topic, refugees in Syria. How will you approach this situation?
Saying utilitarianism.
Hi, I'm utilitarianism. I bring the most good to the most amount of people. More on this later during the meeting.
Introducing deontology.
Hi, I'm deontology. Deon means rule, and deontology means rule and duty-based ethics. I do what is right regardless of the outcome.
Introducing virtue ethics.
I am virtue ethics. I use human virtues to bring about the most flourishing.
Today, we are here on site with Deontology, one of the guest speakers at the World Ethics Meeting. Today, we are privileged to listen to his one-on-one interview. Good morning, Deontology.
Morning.
Can you please tell us what is Deontology?
Deontology means you do what is right regardless of the outcome.
But doesn't that sound really strict? If you always need to follow the rules, won't it sometimes be too constricting?
Not really, because although we're caring what is right, we're not like utilitarianism. We're not just caring our number, we have to care more about our principle, the way you live.
Well, how do you determine what is right? Is there any system or any way to determine what to do?
A major thinker, Immanuel Kant, raised an idea about categorical imperative, which is doing what is right regardless of the situation. Let me give you an example. You are told not to lie, so you can't lie in any situation or circumstances because that is wrong.
Well, what if lying was the better way to have more happiness? Will you still do it?
But then, that's not right, and that's not a righteous act, so you can't do it.
Utilitarianism.
For our interview with Utilitarian, the main host, Bob Smith, cannot be here. But first, let's just start with the interview. Hello, how are you doing?
Hello, I'm fine.
Please explain your ethical school of thought in detail.
Well, utilitarianism can be brought down to one big statement. Bring the most good to the most amount of people. Well, in my ethics, it was developed by two researchers, John Stuart Mills and Jimmy Bennett, and they both sought to maximize pleasure. My ethical system is a part of a bigger branch called consequentialism, and it's when an act is judged by its consequences. So, in conclusion, my ethical system can be brought down to one thought. The ends justify the means. Don't let any motive or means get in the way of your action.
What might people say that's wrong with that statement? The ends justify the means.
Well, sometimes you don't consider motive, so that might be a problem. Another problem might be that sometimes good is relative. Not all good can be common to one person. For example, if one person values education and the other values like food or just having a good life, they will conflict and their good is not relative. It is relative and it's hard to give the most good.
We have some questions that we would like to ask you. First of all, what are the assumptions that you will have to make?
Well, the assumptions that utilitarianism need to make is that you need to know what is good for the most amount of people. Good is relative. Not everybody's idea of good is the same to your peers. Another assumption you need to make is that you need to know the future. In order to make a decision based on the outcome, you need to know the absolute outcome. You need to know the future, which is impossible.
Oh, okay. And are there any other problems that other people might address in utilitarianism?
Well, in utilitarianism, some people are left out. Example, if your decision brings the most good to the most amount of people, that one guy who is being trodden on will not value it as a good decision.
Thank you for your time.
Virtue ethics.
Today, we're here with another guest speaker at our World Ethics Meeting. This is Virtue Ethics. Virtue Ethics, say hello.
Hello.
Can you please describe what is virtue ethics to the audience?
Virtue ethics comes from the Greek thought arete, which means any kind of excellence or praiseworthy character. Aristotle and Lactantius, two of the most important thinkers in this concept, said virtues are praiseworthy qualities that come from the one true God. Society, according to virtue ethics, needs to be made of virtuous people. There are three types of people in virtuous ethics. The incontinent, which means the people who live out of control. The continent, which means the people who do what is good but sometimes still mess up because they are not perfect. And finally, the virtuous, those who are perfect in any way.
Well, what are the virtues that people should live by?
The main virtues that people should have are courage, loyalty, honesty, and integrity.
Which one do you think is the most important out of the four?
I think it is courage, because without courage, you cannot do any of the other virtues.
And how do you actually become virtuous? Is there like a process or
Yes, there is. Virtues are principles that can be discovered by reason, acquired by practice, and are gained through a community of character. Community of character means a group of people that may be beneficial. For example, a church, your friends, or a school. These are places where you may gain your virtues.
That's been a good insight on virtue ethics. Thank you for interviewing with us. Hello, today we're at the World Ethics Meeting 2015. Today, our topic is the Syrian refugee crisis in Europe and around the world. With us today are the three ethics: utilitarianism,
Deontology.
And virtue ethics.
and today we'll be discussing how each ethics will broach the topic of the refugees. So starting off will be deontology and his viewpoint.
Okay. I think we should all receive the Syrian refugees because it is right. All of us should help each other when they're in need. And then there's a main principle in ours is love our neighbors. So we should help them.
I would disagree with that. As a utilitarianism, I would say that I would not help the refugees. I will bring the most happiness to the most amount of people. And the most amount of people in this situation are the citizens of the European countries. If the refugees come in and barge into their peace, then happiness is not achieved for them. And since they're the majority, we should help the citizens achieve happiness.
I agree with both utilitarianism and deontology. A virtue are things that we can gain by helping others. In fact, helping others is an act of love, which in itself is a virtue. And virtue ethics, we should strive to help others and use our community of character to help others as well.
Well, according to deontology, his universal law is to love your neighbors. But sometimes, what if loving your neighbors has worse consequences? You don't consider the consequences. You just care about the rules. What if the Syrian refugee was a murderer or he was a terrorist? Would you allow him in?
Wait, but then you can't discriminate all Syrians as bad people. What if they contribute to the European countries? For example, they provide labor and then, yeah.
Well, as I said before, the European countries were doing fine. They were prosperous before the refugees. Most people in Europe or politicians think that the refugees will be a burden on the country and that happiness won't be achieved.
Yeah, but they're recessing in recent years. So why don't they get some new people and maybe there's a new change and then it turns out to help them instead of harming them, and then they can also achieve a kind image of their country to help others, and then they can set up a good role model for other countries or even the whole world to help each other.
I agree with deontology. The Syrian people will bring the virtues to help those in Europe. Even if the Syrian people prove to be a nuisance and a bad influence on Europe, what will this say about European virtues if we refuse to help?
Well, there is like a famous politician, his name is Machiavelli, and he believed that the ends justify the means. He also believed that a state should rather be feared than loved. So I think as a utilitarianism, my action will be to make sure that the European countries don't help the refugees, since the countries should rather be feared by others, like as cost our country rather than love, as other countries might take advantage of that.
According to deontology's idea, we have a categorical imperative, which is a universal law, and we're doing what is right regardless of the outcome or other situations. So we should do what is right, excluding other factors, right?
Well, wait, you said in categorical imperative, what universal law is applied in this situation?
Love our neighbors, and we should help each other
Well, we
when
agree.
they met difficulties.
Well, I don't really care about the law. I just care about the outcome. And the outcome I want to achieve is the most happiness for the people in Europe. Since they are the majority, they have a huger number of population of people rather than Syrians, refugees.
I disagree. In virtue ethics, we should also consider the motives and the means. Without motives, then what is the point of doing something good?
And then also, some of the people would be left out in your situation. Like, what if the Syrian people, they lost their homeland and they have no place to stay? And if they stay in Syria, they might be died because of the war and the bombs.
As a utilitarianism, what I would say is that for me, I would not consider any motive or any means because the outcome basically justifies my actions. And if my actions, like if they're impure, like evil or mean-spirited, I still would justify within my outcome. If I ban the refugees from Europe and Europe prospers, and that is my outcome, I would agree with that. So that's my viewpoint of the situation. Yeah.
In conclusion, we have seen that utilitarianism wants the people of Europe to prosper because they form the majority, while deontology and virtue ethics want to accept refugees because it is a way of treating them with respect and dignity and also abiding by our virtues.
And this is what is right.
So this concludes the 2015 World Ethics Meeting, Syrian refugees, and thank you for watching.